Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second sunny side up for this particular COP at the ISA Pavilion. And today, I'm delighted to have Benoit Faraco, the Special Envoy for Climate Change Lead Negotiator for France for COP 30. We've designed this around the 10 years of Paris and looking at, climate and solar leadership in action. Paris Agreement was a landmark in collective climate action and a testament for the power of multilateralism. France's leadership was instrumental, Benoit, not only in forging global consensus, but also in sustaining the spirit of cooperation. That still continues to guide the world's climate journey. It was out of the same partnership that we were born, co-initiated by France and India as a symbol of very well-functioning and effective North and South collaboration with a shared responsibility to drive solar revolution across the developing economies. Now, today, as we stand at this decadal juncture, we have organized this fireside chat with you to make it more conversational, particularly around the fact that in a world that is shaped by shifting geopolitics, economic realignments, and accelerating technology advancements, how do we sustain the ambition, strengthen trust, and scale cooperation for a just and resilient energy future? Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Benoit Faraco.
Thank you. Yeah, it's working. Thank you. Thank you, Karen, and thanks all for being here today. I mean, we are here to discuss about solar power without any sunshine. So this is my ray of light for today, participating in this event. And I must say I admire ISA also for the choice of the specific location on this pavilion, because it's so warm, which demonstrates it's so cool here, and not warm like in the French pavilion, which demonstrates that India is very strong in terms of designing and strategizing about resilience. But anyway, no, I'm so happy to be here today because, of course, we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Paris Agreement, and also the 10th anniversary of the International Solar Alliance, even if we have to recognize that it has been launched officially in India a little bit after, during an official visit of President Macron and President Modi. But the very design of ISA by India, to be honest, which came and presented us this partnership, was in Paris in the door of the COP. And I think two elements. First of all, we should and take a minute to reflect on what we have accomplished. 10 years ago, if you wanted to power the world, the best solution was coal. No, it's solar. Thanks to our collective work. Not us, of course. I mean, the market, the industry has been providing tremendous progress in this direction. But if today solar is cheaper than coal everywhere in the planet, in Africa, in Asia, in India, in Europe, in the US also, it's also because over the last 10 years, we have worked together under the International Solar Alliance. And I was in the assembly, like, I don't remember, 10 days, 12 days ago, 15 days ago in New Delhi. And it was amazing to see more than 120 countries gather all together to not only celebrate success, but also set up the way forward. So let's be proud of what we've accomplished together. Because it demonstrates also that we were not only visionary in terms of sectors, we were also visionary in terms of design. I mean, you all heard President Lula here in Belém saying, hey, guys, this COP is about implementation. But come on, Lula, we have started 10 years ago in Paris, France and India together on solar, because ISA was about implementation. And so I think that's a very good element to demonstrate here in this COP that international cooperation works. And will continue to work over the next decade.
No, thank you, Benoit. And I think it's a testament that ISA as an initiative, that was born out of the Paris Agreement is still here to stay. I will ask you a future-looking question. France was the anchor of the Paris Agreement. We are here 10 years later at COP 30 being positioned as the COP of implementation. What's the next frontier for climate leadership? How do we turn raising ambition into real transformation on the ground?
So I think, I've been engaged in this climate negotiation well before Paris. I was in the Laurence Fabius team designing the Paris Agreement 10 years ago, but my very first COP was in actually not far from here, or quite far, in Buenos Aires, 2003. And I've lived into participating to 20 COP or something like that. And we need probably different COPs right now, because we all have the objective. All the objective have been put on the table in the Paris Agreement. We have also an objective on finance decided last year in Baku. We have also very important objective related to adaptation to be adopted here. But it's not time anymore for negotiation in a way, because we don't negotiate solar, we don't negotiate renewable, and that's probably the big problem of these COPs. So if we try to imagine what will be critical and what can we do together over the next 10 years, and I think that's why International Solar Alliance is well positioned in this context, is to be very more specific on topics, sectors, and spend less time in international meeting and more time at home, driving partnership with country, and it's probably a different job. It's more technical, discussing about like the real concrete financial implication. What does it mean to bring solar to poor community in Africa, for instance? You will not solve it here because negotiators are not able to do that. But we in the ISA, with all the programs, with StarC and so on, we can do this job, which is so powerful. And the idea for me for the next decade in terms of COP is us guy coming back every 2-3 years and say, this is what we have delivered, and this is what we need negotiation for. We need new finance system in order to be more efficient. We need a conversation about grid integration because we need technical cooperation on this topic, and to ask the COP, what do we need to be more powerful? That's for me the future of COPs.
Wow, that is very, very interesting, Benoit. And this is, it's leading us into something that ISA is working on for the next year's AI Summit, where I think at the beginning of this year, there was the French summit looked at AI,
In Paris, yeah.
energy, for AI. This time we are looking at the AI usage for energy, and that's where some of the implementation parts go in. But you touched upon the importance of, the geopolitics that is changing, and also the future of climate finance. The landscape is changing fast. The numbers are in trillions, concessional flows to strategic investments, and from solidarity to influence. Now, in a world which is increasingly driven by these changing geopolitics, where do you see the climate finance story heading? Will it remain a tool of solidarity, or is it evolving into a new instrument of influence and power?
Wow, complex question. I hope you have 1 hour to spend to discuss together on this one. Now, maybe quick comment to reflect on what you said on what do we want to achieve. And I mean, it was very interesting to see in the General Assembly of ISA this basic fact. We needed like 20 years to set up the first 1,000 gigawatt of solar, and only 2 years to deploy to double. And when we compare this with the objectives we set up in Dubai about doubling or doubling energy efficiency, tripling renewable, we have the power to do so. And so the big question for me is, what will be the role of our alliance in this context? Because I was saying at the beginning, today, solar is the cheapest energy in the world. Fact. Demonstrated, and that's why even in countries who are not part of the Paris Agreement, they are still trying to deploy solar panel, not for climate, but just for business. So if it's bankable, what do we do about climate finance? Do we need more money? Do we need more resources to meet our target of tripling renewable energy? And do we need, at the end of the day, International Solar Alliance? Because the job is almost done. I mean, it's bankable. We have the technology, but I think that there are still challenges connected to climate finance and international cooperation. First one, I think that tripling renewable is not only about meeting our climate target and also give access to the community who have not access to energy yet, but it's also building like domestic value chains, meaning that we need to have in India, in Europe, in Africa, all the value chain for solar panel. Gigafactories, recycling of batteries, because we know that the storage is a quite important player in this field, and that we want to have an open market for all these elements. Otherwise, you give the benefits of giving access to power to people, but you don't share with them the co-benefits of having a whole industrial supply chain based domestically or regionally. Of course, we can cooperate. We don't have all the same critical minerals. We don't have the same capacities in grids and so on. But I think in terms of climate justice, we need a more open market for this industry and more supply chains that will not only bring climate solution, but also will comfort energy sovereignty everyone. Because, I mean, if you are too dependent from one specific country or region for your solar panel, for your critical material, for your batteries, for grid supply, at the end of the day, it's not working as well as it could, and it does not serve the principle of climate justice. So I think that's one of my priority, and I think climate finance, in particular, should help us to do that, to build a strong industry around the value chain of solar in India, in particular in Africa, and it's our collective target. India and France really wants to make this kind of investment in Africa, because I think that there is more to win in international collaboration if we proceed this way by supporting all investment in the value chain. My last point would be on grids. Of course, grids will be needed. We will need to be able to connect all the data center related to artificial intelligence with a region where we can produce massive amount of solar panels. And for that also, we need investment because it's infrastructure, and we need to build resilient infrastructure. That means climate solidarity and climate justice. So yes, we need international solar alliance, and we will need more public and private money to deliver our goals.
So Benoit, that actually is a great segue into my next question, that as the ISA, born out of a very successful India-France collaboration, is become a model for global South leadership and an action-oriented vehicle. If today at the decadal juncture of Paris, you were to advise us on the top 2 or 3 things we could look on for the next 10 years, what would those advices be?
So first, digital economy, meaning it's not only solar production for artificial intelligence, but it's also artificial intelligence for solar and renewable. I think that's the top priority. I know India is well positioned too, and I think that under the ISA, we will have a lot of collaboration, including preparing the next Artificial Intelligence Summit in Delhi in February, I guess. There is so many innovations that can be super high tech, but also super low tech. And this is a very strong opportunity for us to lay the ground for, this is the next big thing, to be honest. And I think that we can also seize this opportunity to bring also more private finance on the table for solar. I mean, those guys who want to implement data center in Africa, in India, in Europe, in Asia, they want to be part also of financing our infrastructure related to transport of power, recycling of solar panel, and so on, because they are so craving for energy that they will want to share part of this value. So that would be my first priority. Second one, definitely collaboration on critical raw materials. Definitely, it's something that is not working as it should right now, and I think in a sense it helps us to go in depth in the added value. And last but not least, and I'm very proud of the work which has been done with the under the International Solar Alliance on trainings and skills. Because I will give you a small example, not related to solar, sorry, but to wind. 10 years ago, with the French Cooperation Agency, we struggled to install in Ethiopia one of the biggest wind farm at the time. And I went back to the team because I was in Addis like 2 months ago, and they were like, it's not working at all because you forgot to basically bring the skills in the community. So no Ethiopian were able to understand this particular technology to repair it when we have a problem. And it was so shameful. We have put a lot of capital in this project. And at the end of the day, it's not delivering power to the people. Investment have been made, like 90% of the investment has been made, and the remaining 10% were missing, and it creates frustration everywhere. I, as a French cooperation agent, I lost money. People in Ethiopia, they lost the capacity to get access to electricity. And with initiatives such as Tausi, we are doing exactly the last 10%, which are critical if we want to enhance international collaboration.
So this is really satisfying and validates some of our new vision, which moves from ambition to action.
Yeah.
And you would have seen that at our assembly also. But Benoit, let me now take you back to the climate process. And the French COP in 2015 was an epitome of multilateralism. But today, the global climate process faces a growing trust deficit. Between the developed and the developing, the promises and the delivery, ambition and equity. But somebody like me, who is an ardent supporter of a multilateral process, I think it remains as the only credible pathway for coordinated climate action. Now, if trust deficit has crept into this multilateral process between words and action, from your vantage point, how do we restore the confidence in this multilateral process?
No, that's a very sensitive question. You're absolutely right. I think, well, to be honest, when I go back to negotiation room, because I'm also the lead negotiator for France, sometimes it's difficult. It's difficult to see so many mistrust between parties. And even if as a European, a French citizen, I'm proud of what we do as European on behalf of the name of Paris. I mean, Europe is about 40 to 45% of climate finance. We are part of all the mechanisms, the adaptation fund, the loss and damage fund. We try to do our best, and we have a brand new contribution that is basically based on science. So we are respecting the principle of the Paris Agreement, and we invite all the parties to do so because it's so important. You're absolutely right. I mean, if we don't have coordinated action at the international level, it's going to be tricky. But we must not forget that even if sometime in this negotiation room, it's complicated, we have allies. We have allies outside of the negotiation room. And for me, the big difference between this COP and Paris COP like 10 years ago is that the business is on our side for two reasons. First reason, no company wants to live in a world with +4 degrees. Because even producing electricity with solar panel in a world with +4 degrees will be complicated. We will lose a lot of money. Everyone will lose. No one is a winner in this scenario. And business are here also to say we don't like it because it harms the economy. Second element, I think that at the end of the day, there is still a majority of countries in this planet who believe in multilateralism. It's completely different issue, but we organized in Nice in June, a big conference, UN conference on ocean. And it was amazing to see that in like 6 months, we were able to manage to get the ratification for the treaty on the IC, which will help us to create international, marine protected area in international waters in the IC. Having this kind of commitments from a lot of partners coming from the global south, coming from the north, saying we have a problem, let's solve it together, let's create a treaty and validate it, and it will enter into force by the end of the year, demonstrate that we can do it. We can continue on multilateralism, it's working. So I'm quite certain that because Belém will be probably the beginning of a new cycle, we will have next steps. We will probably have a COP in India at a certain extent, if it's a possibility in 3 years. I think we do not have to overreact to those who don't believe in multilateralism. We are strong enough. India, France, South Africa, Brazil, we are all committed and we are big emitters. We have also a strong engagement to move this negotiation forward. So let's not despair and let's try to bring here back in Belém the spirit of Paris, which is basically big project and very concrete initiative such as ISA.
Oh, thank you, Benoit. I think that was a fantastic answer. It gives you that renewed hope. But let me now move to a personal anecdote. You know, you were closely involved in the Paris COP. And all of us, when we look at the negotiating rooms from the outside, Paris COP was a landmark in climate diplomacy. Now, looking back for you, a personal anecdote or a moment from those negotiations, let's say a late night conversation or a breakthrough moment of, or even a moment of doubt, that still inspires you when you go through this?
No, I mean, I have so many anecdotes about the Paris COP, including a very funny one about at what time do we need to stop serving food in order to force the negotiators, not only because they want to find an agreement, but because they want to go back to the hotel and find a burger or whatever. So it was a very tactical question. We will see if Brazil does the same, but it was part of, bringing very interesting solution and respecting every partner. Laurent Fabius make his point. You are like 0.1% of global emission, like Tuvalu, for instance, or 25 to 30% like China. You have the same voice and you will have the same time of COP presidency. It was very interesting to see that we have this kind of like rules in order to manage the negotiation, and in the same time being very tactical by thinking, hey, if we close the restaurant 2 hours before the agreement, all these negotiators will be forced to accelerate a little bit the negotiation in order to get us the perfect agreement we want to have. So it's both like, very philosophical and geopolitical discussion with more personal approach that at the end of the day serves the result we had in Paris.
No. So sometimes when we are seeing it from the outside, it's very easy to forget the intense diplomacy, the uncertainty, the human aspects to all of this. And, I was at the Paris COP, and I still tell a lot of my friends that the French presidency could do what they could do because of the fantastic food that was there. But Benoit, I could continue for a long, long time, but I think we are running out of time. I think as we mark a decade since Paris, and the chart, the path forward, which is more inclusive, action-oriented, technology-driven, France's continued leadership will be vital, not only in ambition, but also for action and supporting institutions like ours. So thank you. Thank you, Benoit, for being here. And, just a pleasure to host you for this.
No, let me thank you once again. I mean, I love what we are doing together. And I think that despite the fact that we are facing headwinds sometimes in this negotiation, when you go back to the ground, when you visit a project led by AISA, but also sometimes led by Brazil in protection of the Amazon forest, you have this very positive feedback of energy that will help us also at the end of the day, I hope, here in Belém to find an agreement that will continue to support multilateralism. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Maybe a question, a burning question or something. We are happy to take it. No, but thank you. Thank you, Benoit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you very soon. Bye.